Are those who bear witness condemned, or is it a warning of impending doom?
A possessed car leaves a trail of wreckage in its wake, years after claiming the life of its celebrity owner.
He was the rebel without a cause.
Some of that tragedy definitely transferred to that vehicle.
A diamond bathed in centuries of bloodshed carries a deadly curse that haunts all men who dare to possess it.
If you're a woman, it's okay. But if you're a man, everything that you have will fall around you.
This diamond has unleashed bloody battles. It's turned sons against their fathers. And it's seen as a symbol of ultimate power.
Rush hour on December 15, 1967. Cars are funneling onto the bridge on US Route 35, the major highway that runs from Pennsylvania to West Virginia through the city of Point Pleasant. The rush hour traffic is nothing new, but today the lineup on Silver Bridge seems exceptionally long. Around 5 p.m., the horn blasts and frustration of bumper-to-bumper traffic is interrupted by a gunshot-like noise that precedes the deadliest bridge collapse in American history. The silver structure folds like a deck of cards, sending cars into the frigid waters below. The winter air carries the painful screams of trapped drivers and passengers as they are swallowed up by the Ohio River, unable to escape. As people started to question what had happened, some were convinced that there had been supernatural warning signs of this impending tragedy. 13 months earlier, local media was inundated with mysterious sightings of a shadowy figure that came to be known as Mothman.
It's said to be somewhere between 6 to 9 feet tall. It has arms, it has legs, but then it has these great big bat-like wings and these huge red glowing eyes.
Some claim to have seen the beast casting a shadow over the bridge in the days before the tragic collapse, its blood-red eyes glaring down at the monument that is now submerged in the Ohio River.
Some people maintained that the Mothman was present to warn the inhabitants of the impending tragedy. It makes you wonder, amidst the turmoil and despair, what they really saw. Was it really there? Did it really offer an explanation for the tragedy that befell this place?
The legend of the Mothman has become an international phenomenon, striking fear into the hearts of those who cross its path. Its true origins remain a mystery, but its legend is deeply rooted in this city of Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is set in a wooded area along the Appalachians near the Ohio River. It's one of those beautiful, picturesque little towns, very sort of all-American quaint.
Despite the town's idyllic settings, its history has been anything but pleasant. Its past is marred by bloodshed and horrifying legends of a ghastly creature and a dying chief's curse.
When we talk about the Mothman legend, of course, it's rooted in this old story about American history in this time of conflict during the American Revolution in the 1770s around Point Pleasant.
According to legend, a Shawnee leader, Hogolesqua, also known as Chief Cornstalk, was desperately trying to maintain peace on the frontier. In 1777, he traveled to the American Point Pleasant outpost of Fort Randolph to alert the commander of an impending assault. Instead of welcoming his warning, he was detained by soldiers.
The curse comes out of this moment of incredible tension between colonial officials and the local Shawnee people. And what happens is a local officer is killed by these indigenous peoples, by the Shawnee. And in revenge, they arrest Chief Cornstalk and they kill him.
It's said that with his dying breath, Chief Cornstalk curses the land where he was killed, saying, "May the curse of the Great Spirit rest upon this land. May it be blighted in its hopes. May the strength of its people be paralyzed by the stain of our blood." Those who believe in the legend see Mothman as a physical embodiment of the curse, a spirit creature that haunts the area, reminding the living of the chief's dying words. Others simply believe the Mothman is a separate entity, one that has the dark gift of predicting death and disaster. Believers maintain that following Chief Cornstalk's chilling curse, Point Pleasant descends into darkness. Over the next century, floods, fires, and other natural disasters wreak havoc upon the town. In 1907, West Virginia faces tragedy as a fire in the Kanawha Valley mine kills over 300 workers, the deadliest mining disaster in U.S. history. The following years see widespread pollution due to emissions manufactured for the First and Second World Wars. Then, in 1953, a barge explosion claimed 6 lives in Point Pleasant. But it's 1967 that for many sees the curse at its most terrifying, and the legend of the Mothman makes headline news. 2 couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Millette, burst into the local police station. They look frightened. Pale with fear, they begin to tell the officer of a terrifying encounter that took place just moments before. As the story goes, the couples are driving down State Route 62 near the abandoned National Guard Armory building in Point Pleasant. Someone in the group notices a strange figure in the distance. As the car inches forward, their headlights illuminate something that horrifies the passengers.
All of a sudden, they could see this thing in the road.
This gigantic man, about 7 to 9 feet tall, with these large bat wings and these deep red hypnotic eyes.
For a moment, Roger is frozen behind the wheel, transfixed by what's in front of them. But the initial shock is soon replaced with sheer panic. Roger slams his foot on the gas, attempting to speed towards town.
As they're rushing along the road, this bat-winged figure flies up above and goes with the car. And even as it's about 100 miles an hour, this winged man is hovering just above them at the same speed as they try and escape.
They finally are rid of the flying beast when they've driven deep into the city. Shaking with fear, the group heads straight for the local police station to alert them of the monster that hunted them down the highway.
What on earth is this creature? Is it an alien, extraterrestrial? Is it out to get us?
The following day, the sheriff's office holds a press conference about the sighting. Newswires are quick to pick up the story and plaster it across the front page news. Some taking it seriously, others not so much.
The town responds by arming up and wanting to go out into the woods and defeat the beast. Part of it is about bravado, and then part of it's just the idea of the fame that would come along with it. You know, if you're the person who can take down the Mothman, then, you know, you'll get free drinks for life at any bar in town.
As the excitement around the creature grows, cheeky journalists, inspired by a villain from the Batman cartoon, dub the creature Mothman. The name spreads like wildfire, as do rumors of new sightings.
They're trying to get you afraid or excited so that you're willing to buy the paper. It's old-style clickbait.
The media frenzy that followed led those interested in the story to make a connection between the Mothman that furiously flew behind a car and sightings of a strange winged being just 3 days prior.
A group of gravediggers claimed to have seen the Mothman flying overhead, and this was some kind of fearsome being with red eyes and these enormous wings simply hovering over them in the sky.
More and more people start saying that they too have witnessed this creature or something that they think must have been like it, seeing it at multiple times of day, seeing it in close to their houses. Other people claim to have been chased. It begins to develop a real pattern.
But there is one question on everyone's lips.
Who or what is Mothman?
Its description borders on the otherworldly, leading paranormal enthusiasts to categorize the mysterious flying being as a cryptid.
A cryptid is a creature out of folklore and legend that is not human, but not a natural biological animal either. Very often it has supernatural or exaggerated characteristics.
Some cryptids are viewed as wonderfully magical creatures.
Unicorns. A lot of people feel like unicorns bring good luck. And then we have Chupacabra, and that one has that terrifying, scary, doom impending feeling because it's just such a creepy little beast.
Although for some, the Mothman is in fact nothing more than a misidentified bird from the local area, possibly a crane or an owl.
Perhaps if you're driving down a dark, desolate road at night and this owl flies out at you and the headlights from your car are going to reflect off of that owl's eyes, that's going to give you, a shock.
Just north of Point Pleasant is the McClintic Wildlife Area, known locally as the TNT area. During World War II, 8,000 acres were devoted to TNT production and storage. In the 1980s, it was discovered that the land was severely contaminated by explosive byproducts, adding to the frenzy that toxic waste could be the cause behind this hideous creature.
The sheer size of the alleged Mothman seems to rule out any kind of bird. That is, unless we countenance the idea that there's some sort of grotesque mutation that's taken place.
Despite the many articles that attempt to demystify the Mothman, two writers seem convinced that not only is the Mothman unnatural, he, or it, is not from this world at all.
This is a period where interest in aliens is at an all-time high. And so these local media figures, like Mary Hyre, she's fascinated by these stories. And so the Mothman becomes this new focus of her energy, and she becomes very important to not only exploring it, but keeping it at the center of local media attention.
During the wave of Mothman-related sightings during the late 60s, Hyre exchanges letters with a paranormal writer from New York, John Keel, who becomes enthralled with the idea that Mothman is some kind of extraterrestrial being.
John Keel was quite a well-known writer-author who focused on the supernatural, but in particular actually an interest in aliens. He was considered a UFO specialist.
John Keel, among other things, is the person who popularized the term Men in Black.
And so the two of them ended up forming a kind of partnership as they explored the Mothman legacy and the stories and promoted it.
In Keel's book, Strange Creatures from Time and Space, he thoroughly charts the Mothman's activities with a table of 26 incidents involving the creature, organizing each account by date, witness, location, and description. He and Hyre claim that there are over 100 reportings of Mothman sightings and UFO phenomena over the next year.
Mary Hyre and John Keel, they're centering themselves in these tales. As they collect stories, as they investigate and interview people, they're also starting to claim that they are being directly contacted.
Mary Hyre was getting a lot of visitations from these Men in Black.
Mary Hyre claims to be being followed around.
Keel talks about receiving phone calls where there's only crackling on the other end.
Of all the reports, none are as bone-chilling as what Keel and Heyer experienced in the days before December 15th, 1967.
This is telling a story of impending tragedy, and it leads to what becomes the most significant tragedy associated with the Mothman, and that is the collapse of the Silver Bridge.
Built in 1929 and named for the metallic aluminum paint used to coat its steel beams, the Silver Bridge connects Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, and disaster was about to strike on a chilly Friday night, December 15th, 1967.
It's about 5 p.m., it's rush hour, and the bridge is loaded with traffic. Nothing really out of the ordinary. People sitting in their cars hear this loud gunshot noise, and then the bridge and their feet start to tremble. And this is the moment that everything starts to unravel.
64 people are trapped in their cars when the bridge's deck begins to twist and crumble. It takes just 20 seconds for the entire bridge to fall. 46 of the drivers and passengers do not make it out of the water alive.
This is a very small community. Everybody's going to know somebody who was on that bridge that day. And so we've got a town that as a whole is wounded and is grieving.
In the days that follow, a task force is sent to investigate the accident. Their official report blames the tragedy on a small stress fracture, a crack less than an inch deep inside a load-bearing steel beam that causes the bridge to fail. They conclude the crack is a result of years of the natural movements of the bridge and its exposure to water.
No one could have foreseen the structural failure. It was only after that they realised the cause.
Those who know the city's history, one of war and bloodshed, believe this was no accident. In their eyes, this is the manifestation of the 200-year-old curse laid on the very land where the bridge fell. For many, the Mothman was the harbinger of doom and destruction.
Now, what exactly is a harbinger of doom? That is some kind of creature in different cultures, in different mythologies, that appears just before something absolutely terrible is about to happen.
Harbingers of doom are seen in ancient writings and oral traditions. The belief in such omens can be traced back to ancient times, permeating across cultures and continents.
The most famous example of the harbinger of doom is the banshee, which is an Irish creature, very often one that sits on the roof of a house and screams or wails or cries to predict the death of someone in the house.
The theory that the Mothman carries this same death sense as banshees stems from the rumours that it was seen lurking around the Silver Bridge days before the deadly accident.
This creature has showed up and it is potentially causing this situation to happen. And yet we could look at it on the other side as well, that it has come forward and it's letting us know that something bad is going to happen. It's giving you a warning.
After the collapse of the bridge, the Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant come to an abrupt stop. Though the Mothman seems to have left the people of Point Pleasant alone after the collapse of Silver Bridge, it's believed to have been spotted on several occasions around the world, always around some catastrophic event. With each sighting, the creature takes on a new name, but its description remains the same.
On April 26, 1986, around the Chernobyl plant, people recorded seeing this moth-like man hovering around the vicinity. These sightings are now known as the Blackbird of Chernobyl.
In 2001, some people claimed that the Mothman appeared in the sky before the second plane hit the Twin Towers in that appalling tragedy.
In 2011, a Mothman-like creature was spotted circling around the Fukushima power plant. It circled the plant several times before the eventual earthquake and tsunami that brought on 3 nuclear meltdowns.
Here we've got a being that seems to appear when something bad is already going to happen. In other words, it is intended, I think, to prepare people, to help give them reassurance that there's a larger plan for people that is beyond their control, is a way of helping people cope with some of the most painful tragedies in their lives.
The most recent sightings of the Mothman have all occurred in or around Chicago. But so far, there's been no major tragedy to befall the city.
Some of the reports include an idea that it screeches or is making loud sounds all in the Chicago area, and many of them around Chicago's O'Hare Airport.
So many wonder if it's just a matter of time before the next doom strikes. On September the 30th, 1955, James Dean, a promising young American actor with a rebellious image, buckles in for the ride of his life. Fresh off his latest movie and eager to get behind the wheel of his latest status symbol, Dean kicks his new ride into gear and sets off down Route 46. It should have been a smooth ride, with Dean's boyish smile beaming in the California sun. But his adventure takes a turn for the worst by evening. His prized car is crushed like an aluminum can after a head-on collision. He is pronounced dead at the scene. Dean's untimely death ignited one of Hollywood's greatest legends.
It's not really about the man, it's about what he represents. And he represents an entire generation of people at the time. And because of that, he's not just a man, he's an ideal.
More chilling than the news of the crash itself are some of the small moments in Dean's life that appear to foreshadow his tragic end.
I'd like your opinion about fast driving on the highway. Do you think it's a good idea?
I used to fly around quite a bit, you know. I took a lot of unnecessary chances on the highways. And I started racing, and now I drive on the highways. I'm extra cautious, because no one knows what they're doing. Half the time, you don't know what this guy's going to do with that one.
Was this a premonition for his death? Was this even a self-fulfilling prophecy? It is strange, and it does make you wonder.
I find myself being very cautious on the highway. I don't have the urge to speed on the highway.
Some stars burn brightest before their light is extinguished, a sentiment that perfectly describes the career and legacy of James Dean.
James Dean was one of this new breed of actors like Marlon Brando, who were, in the post-war era, developing a very different archetype of what is a young man.
The youth saw him as an icon. The older generations didn't, because he was disrespecting authority.
For those who know him, Jimmy lives a fast life, both on-screen and off. His thrill-seeking alter ego, Jim Stark in Rebel Without a Cause, gave Dean the opportunity to mix his two passions, acting and cars.
He was a young man who loved fast cars. He lived life on the edge to begin with. And it was within Rebel Without a Cause in particular that persona of James Dean as this rebellious young man became cemented, and it became associated both with his life as well as his image as an actor.
Once Dean had the financial means to support his love for cars, he was off to the races. In 1955, he competed in a competition in California, placing third in 2 of the 5 events. Later that year, Warner Brothers Studios forces Dean to hit the brakes on his racing career, after realizing his extracurricular activities could become a liability.
The movie officials had to actually put it in the contract that he did not engage in any kind of racing while he was filming, because of course, financially it would cause ruin if they lost him during filming.
But his exile from the racetrack only fuels the fire within. Dean counts down the days until he can get back in the driver's seat.
James Dean was allegedly so excited to get back on the tracks that even before the movie had finished wrapping up, he was already looking for his next race.
Dean has his eye on a new Lotus Mark 9 sports racer, but because of delays in delivery, changes gears and opts for the newer, faster Porsche 550 Spider.
The 550 Spider was an aerodynamic masterpiece in the shape of a teardrop. It could go up to 143 miles per hour.
For a fanatic like Dean, the Spider is temptation on wheels. Like him, it's good-looking and temperamental, built to break hearts.
Here we have this incredibly powerful engine, and it's put into this very, very lightweight body. So it's extremely dangerous.
But Dean isn't focused on the car's safety rating. After weeks of being grounded, all he can think about is the thrill he'll get out of pushing this beast of a machine to its limits at the Salinas Road Races on October 1st, 1955. It's customary for race car drivers to have their cars towed to the track before a big race, a practice Dean is prepared to follow. However, he and his crew realize how little time he's had behind the wheel of his new toy.
He and his team decided that he needed experience driving the car. So they thought that the drive up to the race would give him that time to feel comfortable and at ease in the car before he hit the track.
With a last-minute change in plans a day before the race, James Dean settles into the driver's seat, gripping the fresh steering wheel with his fingers. His mechanic, Rolf Wutherich, climbs into the passenger seat beside him. Another member of his crew, trailing behind in a station wagon, is photographer Stanford Roth.
And it's because he was driving behind James Dean that we have these eerie photos that show James Dean in the last hours of his life and in the moments of his death.
On his way to the race, James Dean receives 2 speeding tickets. The first at 3:30 p.m. and the second an hour later. It's almost as if there were forces trying to stop him.
Both times, Dean accepts the citations without hesitation, fires up his Porsche and gets back on the road undeterred. But just an hour later, after receiving his second ticket, tragedy strikes. At approximately 5:45 p.m., 23-year-old college student Donald Turnipseed makes a turn directly into Dean's path.
The sun was going down, and they believed that the sun was reflecting off the silver car, and so it would have been very difficult for the other car to even see him coming.
According to the coroner's report, he had a snapped neck, broken arms, a fractured skull, and he died on the scene. Turnipseed walked away from the accident with a few marks on his face. A few months later in court, he was found not guilty of any charges.
Dean's death is considered a freak accident, the result of a perfect storm of deadly details that drove the actor to his demise. But digging deeper into the months before the collision, a series of strange events leave many to wonder if James Dean had any idea of what was waiting for him on the road ahead.
We have this magazine who's doing an article on him shooting photographs, trying to introduce the public to James Dean's life before Hollywood.
The concept of the shoot was to capture Dean's complex personality and his thoughts about fame, his identity, and mortality. While in his hometown of Fairmount, Dean spontaneously decides to venture into a funeral parlor where he posed inside an open coffin.
Very eerie to look at, considering that very soon he really would be dead.
Who could have imagined that within the year, Dean's body would be brought back to Fairmount to be laid to rest in a casket just like the one in the now famous photograph? Weeks after Dean posed for the chilling photograph, while on the set of his movie Giant, he was asked to film a public service announcement for the National Safety Council. The message of the PSA was around reckless driving.
And at the end of it, he was supposed to deliver the line, "Take it easy driving, the life you save may be your own." Instead of which, he curiously delivered the line,
"Take it easy driving. The life you might save might be mine."
We know that he ad-libbed this line, and it does seem like a really grim piece of foreshadowing. So we have to ask ourselves, what possessed James Dean to change that line at the last minute?
Might be mine.
The painful irony of his message is impossible to ignore. Though irreparably damaged in the crash, the tragic demise of James Dean seems to have become intertwined with the very essence of the car. Those who have dared to incorporate a fragment of it into their lives have encountered a fate eerily reminiscent of his own.
It seems that anyone who comes in contact with parts of the car have either been maimed or even killed.
While Jimmy's life was cut short that fateful September evening, his Porsche 550 Spider manages to steal a second chance at life.
Dr. William Askrick, an amateur racer, goes to the salvage yard and finds James Dean's Porsche. And what's so intriguing is the fact that the engine remains completely unharmed.
Two competitors of James Dean will go on to actually buy some of the surviving parts of his car. One is known as Dr. Eskridge, the other is Dr. McHenry. Eskridge kept the engine and some other parts. McHenry got the transmission as well as some other parts.
You do have to wonder about the choice of taking this engine that was involved in such a fatal collision and placing it in your own car. It almost seems like you're inviting disaster.
Roughly a year after Dean's death, part of his Porsche were ready to race on the circuit at Pomona Raceway. But this would be the one and only time in history.
These two drivers, faced with one another, were part of the same race, and as they're going around the track, they both have serious accidents. Eskridge managed to survive, but he has serious injuries. McHenry is not that fortunate, and he dies.
It certainly makes you suspicious of the car, almost like it was creating the havoc that would unfold in these races.
For a number of people, the accidents trigger the belief that James Dean's car carries a deadly curse. Anyone who comes into contact with even a single part risks being afflicted by a supernatural force. According to British actor Sir Alec Guinness, the devilish car was destined for disaster from the very beginning. 1977, years after Dean's passing, Guinness tells the story of the first and last time he met the young actor and the car that would drive him to his doom.
In a BBC interview years later, the Star Wars actor Alec Guinness recounted having met James Dean on a street in Los Angeles, and Guinness had been looking for somewhere to go to lunch, and James Dean offered to take him to lunch, but not before he showed Guinness his new car, and Guinness went white.
According to Guinness's account, the moment he laid eyes on the car, he was overwhelmed by a dark and heavy feeling.
Guinness said to James Dean, "Please don't get in this car, because if you do, you'll be found dead next week."
Dean does not heed his warning and is killed in the car days later.
In a later interview, he speaks about this and he says, he doesn't know where this came from.
It just felt as if it was something that tipped out of his mouth, that he had to say, that he had to deliver a warning to this young man.
He doesn't know where this came from, almost like it's another person speaking or another entity speaking through him.
The accidents at Pomona feed a renewed interest in James Dean's allegedly cursed car. Renowned Hollywood custom car designer George Barris is drawn to the vehicle despite its disfigured state. He tracks down the car's frame and as much as the body as he can find to add to his collection.
He sees Dean's car is available and he wants to purchase it, thinking, how many people would come to see this? Of course, this is a big draw, right? This is the car that James Dean died in.
Barris takes parts of the car for some of his own projects and lends what's left to the Los Angeles National Safety Council. It's to be used as a travelling display to scare motorists into driving safely.
George Barris takes the car with him to various parts of the U.S., and as he tells the story, accidents follow the car. At one point, the truck carrying the car tips over, throws the driver, and then crushes him underneath.
There's a story where some students had come to see the car, and the car was up on some sort of platform, and it fell off and knocked one of the students down and broke his hip.
Most of Barris's anecdotes are unverified, except for an incident in March of 1959 when the car was in storage. A mysterious fire broke out in the garage, surrounding the vehicle in flames. But even fire proves incapable of destroying the Spider.
It certainly does act as a compelling dynamic towards the idea of a curse being on this vehicle.
The question left on everyone's mind is, where is Dean's car now?
Some years after Barris started touring the car around the country, it disappears without a trace.
In 1960, Barris is moving the car to Los Angeles, and when it arrives there from Florida, the container trailer it was in is mysteriously empty. A number of people think it's likely that Barris himself orchestrated the disappearance, and the car has never, as far as we know, been seen again. So the kind of question is, why would he do a thing like that?
Critics believe Barris fabricated the story as a way of keeping the car's mystique alive. Others think its mysterious disappearance is completely in line with the dark energy that seems to surround it.
This is where people start displacing their feelings into something emanating from an object instead of something that's within themselves.
I would say it's a pretty good likelihood, at least in my opinion, that some of that tragedy definitely transferred to that vehicle.
It does make you wonder about those other pieces. Where are they? Are they in other cars? Have they caused, or will they cause, other fatal crashes?
After months of waiting, the day has finally come for Queen Victoria to feast her eyes on the latest treasure to adorn her collection of royal jewels. A glorious egg-sized diamond whose legendary reputation outshines even its own splendor.
This diamond has unleashed bloody battles. It's turned sons against their fathers, and it's seen as a symbol of ultimate power.
Gently resting on a velvet cushion, the Koh-i-Noor diamond is presented to the Queen as a symbol of the recent British victory in the Punjab region of India.
While the diamond is mesmerizing, the men in the room don't want to go near it. It's only Queen Victoria who touches it.
While the British may have manipulated and killed to bring the Koh-i-Noor to its new home, the one thing they refuse to do is test its curse.
It's a diamond of conquest and this catalyst of negative events that seem directly attached to the men who are perpetrating these acts of violence.
It's believed that he who owns this diamond will own the world, but will also know all its misfortunes. Only women can wear the stone without fear of bloodshed or betrayal.
The owners of this diamond have been blinded, poisoned, tortured, burnt alive, and assassinated.
Yet still, it is one of the most sought-after diamonds in history.
We have a pretty good idea that the diamond came out of India, but it's very ancient.
The first recorded reference of the Koh-i-Noor places it in the possession of the Mughal dynasty ruler Shah Jahan in 1628.
The founder of the Mughal Empire invaded India in the 1500s, and he laid claim to the land and the diamond-rich mountains.
The massive diamond at the time is said to possess a value equivalent to half the daily expenditure of the entire world. Such a diamond was a perfect adornment to the Mughal ruler's magnificent gemstone-encrusted peacock throne.
The peacock throne takes 7 years to construct. It costs 4 times more than the Taj Mahal, and it's dripping in emeralds and diamonds and rubies. And at the center of this throne is the Koh-i-Noor diamond.
Shah Jahan enjoyed 30 years of prosperity with the diamond in his collection, as he had ruled his empire and had access to all the riches he could desire. But greed, it seems, can be a powerful curse. Shah Jahan's love for gems may have been surpassed only by his son's hunger for power. In 1657, a brutal civil war erupted as Shah Jahan's 4 sons, fueled by whispers of their father's declining health and their desire for the throne, turned against him. Each gathered their men and challenged their father and his armies, trying to overthrow him. By 1658, Aurangzeb, the shrewdest and most ruthless of the brothers, emerged victorious. In a ruthless act, he captured his own father and imprisoned him in his own fort until his dying days. In doing so, Aurangzeb secured the seat of power, the peacock throne, and the prized Koh-i-Noor diamond.
By the time Shah Jahan's great-great-grandson takes the throne, it's a time that the empire is in peace.
Under the leadership of Muhammad Shah, in this time of peace and prosperity, the Mughal Empire's army had become weak, and their immense wealth attracts the attention of others.
Another threat emerges in the form of the Shah of Iran, who's renowned as an incredibly effective and powerful military leader who's bent on expansion. And he takes his forces and invades the kingdom.
In 1739, Nadir, the Shah of Iran, stages the bloody conquest of Delhi. His army is outnumbered by the Mughals 6-1, but his men are highly skilled, brutal fighters who slice their way through the Mughal army with ease.
Nadir goes on to sack the city, killing tens of thousands of soldiers and taking thousands of women and children as slaves. Muhammad Shah is forced to submit and beg for mercy just to end the carnage.
Nadir requests the peacock throne with this diamond in exchange to stop the bloodshed.
Muhammad Shah is forced to hand over the keys to his royal treasury, including the mesmerizing gem that Nadir will remove from the peacock throne. The diamond the Persians call Koh-i-Noor, meaning mountain of light.
We made a deal with the Shah that he would cede control, and in return, Shah Nadir would be able to take his wealth with him.
Having been removed from the throne, the Shah of Iran wears the Koh-i-Noor as a symbol of his power and strength. However, Nadir Shah will only have the Koh-i-Noor in his possession for 8 years before he is brutally murdered and the diamond is stolen. As time passes, Nadir grows old and sick. His pain makes him even more cruel. When his people revolt against him, he builds towers out of their skulls. Those that surround him decide he has to go.
One night, while sound asleep, 17 of his trusted guards and confidants enter his room and fatally stab him multiple times.
We're seeing this greed, this power, this hunger from within, and it's transferring to the next person who takes possession of this diamond.
News of the attack reaches Shah Durrani, Nadir's trusted commander. He races to his leader's side, only to find him slain. Swiftly, Durrani secures the Koh-i-Noor. He and his men vanish into the night. bound for Kandahar.
Now we have these questions coming up. Where is this diamond? Who's got it? Where is it hidden? And we see Nadir's grandson tortured. They chain this young man to the chair. They shave his head. And then they proceed to pour a crown of molten lead on top of his bare head. And they do this to try to get him to reveal where this diamond is.
All the while, the Koh-i-Noor has been in Shah Durrani's possession. He establishes his own thriving empire, laying the groundwork for the modern state of Afghanistan. Yet upon his death in 1772, for the next 70 years, his descendants battle for the throne and the diamond, each reign marked by violence and loss. On the verge of defeat, Shah Shuja, the great-grandson of Shah Durrani, flees his kingdom with the diamond in 1809 to Lahore, India, directly into the hands of another great ruler. Ranjit Singh is the first Maharaja of the Sikh Empire. He successfully expelled the Afghans from India and dubbed himself the ruler of Punjab, the Lion of Lahore. Singh's protection comes at a steep price. As a condition of his safety, Shah Shuja is forced to surrender the Koh-i-Noor to the powerful Maharaja.
The Koh-i-Noor diamond is brought home, and this becomes of enormous significance to the Maharaja and his followers. The idea that it has been brought home to the place where it belongs, and perhaps that also may allay the curse.
However, despite his vast power and wealth, it appears that even the mightiest fortunes pale in comparison to the curse of the Koh-i-Noor diamond. Ranjit Singh's family, it seems, may have fallen prey to the unforgivable grip of its malevolent influence.
Ranjit Singh has a somewhat ordinary death, but it's his children who suffer the most.
The first one is poisoned, the second one has his skull crushed, and the third is shot in the chest. That the fourth heir to the throne, Duleep, is only a child of 5 years old, which means the throne is very vulnerable.
Duleep Singh's mother, Jindan, knows all eyes are on her son. Power-hungry men would not hesitate to kill her child just to hold the Koh-i-Noor in their bloody hands. She is fiercely protective, but her love for him is not enough to defend against the global superpower that had been waiting in the shadows.
In the 19th century, the British enter the scene through the East India Trading Company, and they too want to get their hands on this diamond.
When the British learned of Ranjit Singh's death in 1839, they knew this was their opportunity to strike.
The British took advantage of having a child ruler on the throne, and as a result of a series of wars ending in the Treaty of Lahore, we're going to see them force this young ruler, Duleep, into handing over
again. They separate the young Maharaja from his mother. Jindan is thrown in jail, and Duleep is under the guardianship of the British government.
Kings, rulers, and thieves could not hold on to the diamond. So how could this child?
By 1850, the Koh-i-Noor is locked in an iron chest on a ship to Great Britain. Upon its anticipated grand unveiling at the Great Exhibition of 1851, the Koh-i-Noor is viewed with utter disappointment.
It was very large, yes. I mean, it was 800 carats, but it was very dull looking. It looked like just a misshapen stone. They didn't understand or appreciate its significance.
The Queen's husband, Prince Albert, could not have such an important symbol of the British colonial power be looked upon with such distaste, especially after all the bloodshed and pain that it took to obtain it. He orders it to be recut to a more appealing shape and size.
Now it's presented in the way that the British were used to seeing diamonds, as something brilliant, as something sparkly, and as something elegant.
When the redesign was complete, Queen Victoria debuts the new Koh-i-Noor on a crown of gold and silver flowers, surrounded by hundreds of pearls and thousands of smaller diamonds. The British are very aware of the Koh-i-Noor's curse, to bring death, doom and ruin to any man who possesses it. Now, in the treasure hold of their monarchy, they believe Queen Victoria would be immune to its terrible curse. But even she is hesitant to wear the diamond in public.
Is it really that they are afraid of the curse, or they are afraid of the controversy that surrounds the diamond today?
Today, the diamond is bestowed upon Queen Camilla, locked in the Tower of London, nestled among an array of crown jewels.
This is the most controversial diamond in the world. It is a symbol of colonialism and imperialism, a cursed talisman that has left a trail of blood in its wake.
Despite the curse and its track record for disaster, to date, no less than 5 national governments assert to be the rightful owners of the precious stone.
The diamond has claims from India, from Iran, even from the Taliban, claiming that the diamond is theirs. But for now, it remains in the Tower of London.
The future of the Koh-i-Noor diamond remains uncertain. But one thing is really clear. It needs a woman's touch to keep the curse at bay.